everybody. Thanks, Manavata, for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to share my few thoughts with all of you. When Srinivas Alluri, you all call him Srini, got in touch with me, I asked him some difficult questions. The questions are very difficult questions any government officer like me would ask. I said, first of all, who are you and what are you? What are you doing? Do you have a website so that I can Google and find out? And prior to this, he invited me to some event at Mahbubnagar, the most happening event that was, but unfortunately, I could not make it to that event. I missed that event. Then he explained some of the things, and he also gave me the website. He talked about himself. He talked about the organization, and when I have gone through this Manavata, the 3H word was believing, happy, healthy, and harmony. 3H word. That has really enthused me, excited me. Having 8,000 volunteers all over the world is not a small effort. And though the man, Mr. Srinivas, and the very dedicated team of volunteers are very young, but I think their struggle to do things is something very great, and it's very long and it's very large. That's how I look at it. It's my proud privilege to be associated with all of you in this evening, and I'm inspired to be a part of Manavata with today's association. In my day-to-day life, I inspired by seeing the work of many people, and this inspiration makes me what I am today. Some of the inspirations I would like to share with all of you. Sustainable development is the key word. The humanity for continuation of this human life on earth. Sustainability is the principle. The earlier speaker has spoken with her wisdom on the importance of soils and soil fertility and sustainability of the soils for food production. Whenever I think of food production, at a very personal level, I get worried. We are going to be 9 billion people, 3 billion extra mouths to feed, and 1.2 billion not having water, 1.5 billion not having access to electricity of any kind or any energy resources, and by 2050, the consumption of electricity or energy consumption is going to be doubled. The requirement of electricity is going to be doubled. What kind of world are we creating? The populations, more than 70% of the world population do not have, they use very less natural resources, whereas 20 to 30% of the population use more resources. So the question before all of us is that if we are doing development at what cost? The answer is sustainable development. We all should believe it. And there are, like Manavata, there are many individuals, there are many organizations, they have inspired me. I would like to recollect and recall some of those great champions. The first, as a very young student of natural sciences, one women's movement in India feels really proud of is the Chipko movement. Chipko movement is tree huggers movement. In the Himalayas, the fragile soils, the very fragile environment, if you cut the trees, people will not have any life. They won't have water, they don't have soils, They don't have any product or cattle. Their life systems will be totally destroyed. In the early 70s, mid-70s, people, especially the women, cut those trees and asked the contractors, the forest contractors, not to cut the trees. The very action of those women gave the late Prime Minister of India, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, an environmental champion, a great green champion and a green warrior. Besides that, she is an able administrator and a good politician. She introduced the Forest Conservation Act. Forest and greenery, green areas, not only forest. Wherever you have green, it cannot be diverted for non-green utilities. So the very strict act she has introduced. She has also introduced the importance of greenery or the forest. She understood the importance of ecosystems and sustainable development and introduced Wildlife Act. You cannot kill any living birds or animals or any creatures. It's punishable. So she introduced many good things. Lot of acts on pollution, air pollution, water pollution, so many acts have come into being. But human beings, we have a great mechanism to break all the laws and destroy nature. While destroying nature, we also know that we are destroying ourselves. A group of people. When I talk about group, there are also a group of people like you and me. Millions of people are suffering. When the people suffer, they have something in common. What is the commonality? They don't have access to resources. They don't have voices. Nobody will hear their voices. When they go to government offices, they are not taken seriously. They don't get their due share either from the natural resources or from the governments or from anybody. Their day-to-day life is a big struggle. So they all gang up in our own state of Andhra Pradesh. They have agitated against sale of liquor by government. Sale of liquor by government, and they all ganged up. It is now, sometime it has happened in the early 90s in Nellore district, and this kind of women's movements are there all over the world. These movements are very, somebody sings songs. The other day I have seen a video in which a young girl in Canada or in Mexico, she sings songs and empower women. She wanted to educate women, she wanted to create awareness about their health and happiness and education and health, everything by singing songs. In fact, the kind of self-help movement I am talking has emanated through singing. When the women come together, they sit together, the most illiterate rural women, they don't know much about talking, they can't talk like you and me. They only know how to sing. Singing is an opportunity, singing is socialization, singing is sharing their feelings, their happiness, their sufferings. That's how they share. It's a way of sharing. So they used to sing together. They used to understand their problems. They have common problems. Common problems are like when a woman grows vegetables, she goes and sells the vegetables in a city. She doesn't find any place. She sits on a footpath and the police constable is the first person to come and tell her, get up, this is not a place for you. Where she will go. We are all talking about climate artworks. When the climate change is happening, cyclones, droughts, people migrate, they become artworks. They have to go to another place. People are also orphans in their day-to-day life, the kind of orphans I am talking. They are not orphans in our dictionary as per our dictionary meaning, but they are orphans because their livelihood opportunities are denied. So this is how lot of people suffer. They come together as a network because suffering is common. Suffering is common to all of them. That's how today, it's not that through the efforts of volunteer organizations, through the efforts of the national and the provincial governments, many people come together to a common platform. One thing they understand, their habit is saving. Saving what? Saving is not money. Saving water. Because they have little water. They understand saving. You and I may not understand saving water because it comes from the taps. And with the very high-tech taps, if you just open the tap, a lot of water comes in because the technology is very, very powerful, very good. But these women have to walk miles to get water. They have to walk miles to get water. They have to walk miles to get firewood. So life is a big struggle. They are walking and walking and walking. Our Srinivas and Mahanta volunteers are cycling for a cause. They are walking for their livelihoods. Here we are cycling for a cause. But both are almost very similar to me. So the thing is that they are walking long distances because these resources are becoming very scarce. Such people understand saving, sustainability, and caring for the future. They care for tomorrow. They wanted to give something to their children, something for the posterity. They understand the importance of natural resources. So, walking is a big thing. So, through the process of sustainable development, we have seen the worst things happening. Go on using only, the chemical fertilizers, water bodies are getting polluted. We use all the time the foreign seeds. We don't give damn to the local seeds. Mrs. Vandana Shiva, another lady I take inspiration from, she talks about, the farmer's rights on seed. My grandfather, they were in agriculture. Their occupation was cultivation. My mother, my grandmother, I used to see as a young child, they were collecting the best seed based on not genetic selection, phenotypic selection, the best seed, very good quality seed. They used to dry the seed, they used to take the bamboo baskets, and the seed is put in a basket, and on the top of it, they use the cow dung, and the seed remains for 6 months without applying any of these chemicals which you use for preservation. Today, we don't find anything preserved without the use of chemicals. If we say something real, I really do not know how much it is real and how much it is organic. These are all some of the things which God has us. So, the traditional practices. Whenever I talk about sustainability, I go back to basics. I go back to the traditional practices. The water bodies in the villages, people respect those water bodies in the villages. The water body is called Koneru. For the present generation, Koneru means it is some water body in the temples. But in those days, Koneru is a water body in a village where people draw water for drinking. Because those days the borewells are not there. They have not extracted the water from the bowels of the Mother Earth by digging deep borewells. They were using the surface water for drinking, and everybody respects those water bodies. They They don't clean the animals, they don't take the animals, they don't wash the clothes, they don't throw plastics, they don't leave the sewerage. The water body is taken care by the village people, and it is a community protection and conservation of water. It's a whole community, because for us like Hyderabad we get water from Krishna. Water cannot travel in those days by spending huge electricity and all that. So they have to depend on the local water bodies. They grow trees. What kind of trees? Neem. They grow fruit trees on the roadside. Ashoka planted fruit trees on the roadside. What are we planting now? We plant trees, no doubt, on the roadside. Millions of trees are planted in our programs. But if you see, my officers would tell me those trees should not have flower. If they have flower, flowers will be plucked. They should not have fruits. If they have fruits, fruits will be plucked. But what the tree will have? The tree should have only leaves so that shade. The trees sometimes should not even have leaves, because if the leaves are there, the goat, the shepherd will chop the tree. So they want just trees on the roadside without any purpose. The objective is they wanted to protect these trees. How? The trees are not very useful to the community, nobody will cut. Second, the trees are not having browsable characters. The leaf is not browsed by any animal, so it is protected. If the tree is useful, either the animals or the human beings are going to cut the tree. So what are the quality of a tree which we are going to plant? We are seeing those trees are not useful. So even by planting, we need to see. We all know very well for organic pesticides. Madam spoke about neem cake. Why do you buy neem cake from a few companies? Why can't we grow neem trees in each and every village? Especially Manavata, you are working in Mehboob district. I would strongly endorse. And I also know the geography of the district, most drought prone. You have your ashram there, and you know neem is like a kalpavruksha for Mehboob. It has got insecticidal properties, fertilizer, it is an organic fertilizer. I myself have seen, if I grow neem tree in a farm, the leaves fall and it becomes the best fertilizer. I have seen. So neem is a good tree for planting. Fruit trees, especially mango trees are very well grown. So planting the local trees. And an organization, especially an organization like you doing a lot of volunteer work, my request is that in the cities like Hyderabad, you please take one Sunday off, conduct a survey of all the big trees. They are called heritage trees. Like our Timbama Marimanu in Anantapur district. Take a survey of all big trees and you put in a Google map. Give a tag to the tree, put it in a Google map so that the directory of heritage trees are the big trees. They are like our grandfathers or grandmothers. The directory is not lost. If we don't survey, if we don't tag them, anybody can cut trees. There are volunteer organizations like you. We have one, Mr. Vijayaram. He is having a sweet shop called Emerald Sweets, and he is very passionate about tree translocation. When the tree is to be pulled out from a particular place for construction of a building or creation of a road, he pulls out the entire tree. He collects donations, pulls out the entire tree, he will translocate it into some other area. He is doing it very passionately. Many people are doing, there is an organization called Smaran. They are doing a lot of rainwater harvesting. The engineers, they go voluntarily, they go door to door. Those who are interested, it is like a call center, you can call them. They are there to put the rainwater harvesting structure for you. There are organizations. Hyderabad is a city of lakes. Andhra Pradesh has got many lakes, many tanks. You know, these boys, the green warriors, the water warriors, they go and clean up the lakes once in a while. But the most irresponsible citizens, again, go and pollute. Even after the lake is cleaned up, they go and pollute. Environmental Foundation of India, one Mr. Arun Krishnamurthy, he works in Google. He does it with the help of volunteers. So now our country today talks about Swachh Bharat. Swachh Bharat is not a campaign, according to me. Campaigns are not required. It's our individual responsibility and collective responsibility to see that India is clean and green. For that, a lot of effort is required. First of all, the self-discipline. That's why I like your 3 words, you know, the organization. First, you said, first of all, you know, self-realization. Self-realization, and after that, social responsibility, and environmental self-transformation. How do you do self-transformation? Right education. Perhaps these seminars are not right. You know, in fact, getting given an opportunity, you are all doing more work. You are dedicated. The very fact that you are here shows your commitment to the cause. So, self-transformation. As Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you want to see. First of all, we have to change. Self-transformation through yoga, through selfless leadership. When I talk selfless leadership, I can quote thousands of examples. The thousands of examples I can quote are not big people. They are unsung heroes and heroines. They are very, very ordinary people. They are poor people sometimes. I have seen poor people collecting donations and helping not only our own state. You know, when the Hudhud was there in Vizag the other day, the women self-help groups came together and they gave sent big donations to the Chief Minister's Relief Fund. The same women self-help groups gave donations when there was earthquake in Lahore. Not only money, in kind, you know, in terms of service, very, very ordinary people doing extraordinary things. They are all self-transformative. The second is, you know, the social transformation. Like you help others, maybe your knowledge, your skills, your ability to do a little bit of, you know, asking your friends, requesting your friends.